Why hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Emily. I am a death historian. I also have a small business, a full-time job, and a lot of side projects. And on Death Before Decaf, we talk about my research, of course, related to death, but also about productivity and managing a bunch of things at the same time. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you click that little subscribe button. And without further ado, let's go right into the topic of today, which is why you should visit your local cemetery. So most people think that cemeteries exist for only one purpose, and that is burying the dead. And of course, that is what it's for. Historically, though, they also functioned as parks, as museums, as sculpture gardens, as archives, and as public spaces. And in a time where people are consistently and constantly looking for new third spaces, places where they can hang out without the pressure of spending money, cemeteries are a beautiful place that fits exactly that demand. In many cities, they were one of the first places where ordinary people could experience landscaped beauty and public art in quiet green space. In the early 19th century, rapid industrialization transformed cities across Europe and North America, and urban churchyards became drastically overcrowded, and that led them to become unsanitary and associated with disease outbreaks like cholera. In response, a new kind of cemetery emerged, which we call the rural cemetery. Now, these cemeteries were intentionally built outside crowded city centers, and they were designed as carefully planned landscapes with winding paths and trees and ponds and monuments and elaborate architecture. One of the most influential examples of this is Mount Auburn Cemetery, founded in 1831 near Boston. It attracted huge numbers of visitors, and not just people mourning. By the 1840s, tens of thousands of people visited annually to walk the grounds, admire monuments, study plants, and escape industrial city life. Some historians argued that these cemeteries directly inspired the later creation of urban public parks like Central Park in New York. And once you start looking closely, cemeteries become incredible historical records. The monuments themselves reveal class differences, religious beliefs, artistic trends, and changing attitudes towards death. In the 18th century, gravestones in Anglo-American cemeteries often featured skulls, crossbones, winged death heads, imagery that was meant to remind viewers of mortality and of the impending divine judgment that awaited them after their death. By the Victorian period, these harsher symbols were increasingly replaced with softer imagery like angels, flowers, sleeping children, and clasped hands. And these were not random decorations. Victorians developed an entire symbolic language around death. Broken columns symbolized life's cut short. Anchors symbolized hope and steadfast faith. Lamps identified children's graves. Ivy represented memory and eternal attachment. And hourglasses with wings symbolized the passage of time. Now, epitaphs are equally revealing. Some focus on Christian salvation, some focus on family roles like that of a mother, others celebrate military service, professional achievement, or social status. Either way, they preserve the emotional language of different eras, what people valued, what they feared, or what they wanted to be remembered by. You can trace entire cultural shifts just by reading gravestones over time. You can also see the results of historical effects almost immediately. Clusters of child graves often point to epidemics. Large numbers of death within short periods can reveal cholera outbreaks, influenza waves, wars, industrial accidents, or famine. Cemeteries preserve local history in ways that textbooks often don't. They also reveal inequality. In the United States and in Canada, burial spaces often reflected racial and class segregation. Marginalized communities were often buried in separate or less maintained cemeteries, while wealthy families constructed elaborate mausoleums and monuments designed to preserve status for long after death. Historians increasingly study cemeteries not just as burial grounds, but as these landscapes of power and memory and identity and inclusion or exclusion of certain people. And despite being associated with death, cemeteries are very often so full of life. Because many historic cemeteries remained relatively undisturbed for decades, sometimes centuries, they became important urban ecosystems. Scientific studies have shown that cemeteries can support remarkable biodiversity, especially in dense urban areas. Researchers have documented rare plants, pollinators, birds, bats, and mammals thriving in cemeteries because the space functions almost like accidental nature preserves. And then there's the atmosphere itself. Cemeteries are one of the few public places left that actually encourages stopping, silence, slowness, and reflection. There are no advertisements, there's no traffic, no expectations to constantly consume something, just names and dates, stories, and traces of lives that once existed. And maybe that's why cemeteries continue to fascinate people, because they're not just places of death. They're historical archives, they are art galleries, they are incredible spaces to see wildlife, they are cultural records, they are living museums built from memory itself. And so I encourage you, maybe this weekend, grab a snack and go to your local cemetery and enjoy the quiet, enjoy the wildlife, and let yourself get lost in the living history of whereabouts you are. So let me know in the comments what you think about cemeteries. Do you visit them? Do they scare you? Do they interest you? Let me know a local cemetery that you think I should go check out. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and join me on all of my other social media channels, of course, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye.